This is Justin Matthew. Welcome to Second Nature. Long before modern science of environmentalism, the ancient Greeks were asking profound questions about nature. What is nature? How humans fit within it. So, in this episode, let's explore the world of Greek philosophers, myth makers, historians, farmers, slaves, and outsiders, and their ideas of nature. And to understand their ideas of nature, it is essentially important to understand the geography of the Mediterranean world and their lived experiences and their social system and how that was transforming, largely in the period between, say, 800 BCE to 400 BCE. That covers the Archaic period and the Classical era in Greek history. Please spend some time to see this map. You can see that those peninsula and the small islands are part of the Mediterranean Sea. In a sense, we can argue that Greece was shaped by the Mediterranean, the largest landlocked sea. Plato beautifully observed that the Greeks lived like ants and frogs around a marsh. There was life for Greeks, ancient Greeks. There was a significance of Mediterranean and a mountain and also small strip of coastal region and narrow plains in shaping their lives. So for Mediterraneans, especially for Greeks, sea was not a barrier, but a channel that provided them vast field of communication. It was Mediterranean that facilitated Greek contacts with Anatolia, that is modern day Turkey, Southwest Asian regions, and North Africa. And now when we come to the climate also play an important role in shaping their everyday life and everyday life experience. And we need to argue that their everyday life played an important role in shaping their ideas of nature. So they had Greek had a Mediterranean climatic condition. That means dry summer and wet winters. But cooler wind from Black Sea provided relief. So therefore, ancient Greeks could sit outside their home, outside their city, city square, where they had a public life. They enjoy that cool weather and engage in discussion. So that facilitated what we call, one of the greatest skill Greeks required for their public life, that is oratory. So, let's come to Archaic Greece, that is between 800 to 500 BCE. So that's the time of Ionian philosophers, natural philosophers. What was that world? We know that world through great epics, Iliad and Odyssey, so Homeric epics. And these epics tell us about their lost world, their lost Mycenaean great world, their heroes, their kings, Achilles, Agamemnon, and many others. And, the Archaic period, that is 800, end of Dark Age and the beginning of Archaic period was the beginning of what we call phase of agricultural expansion and the emergence of cities. Later, we would call city-states, polis. And that was the time of warfare. As many of us must have seen, watched these Greek historic movies of warfare that belong to, that period. So you can go through these two base paintings where you get an idea how that Greek cosmic world of warfare, agricultural expansion, of heroes worked. And so the Greek was a world of landlords, peasants, slaves, outsiders, so pastoral groups. And these pastoral groups, and they were singing this song, the great poem, Iliad. It's a great source to understand their idea of a world, their idea of nature, and the human interaction with nature. So let's read one, some lines from let me quote from Iliad. So I read, generations of men are like the leaves. In winter, winds blow them down to earth. But then, when spring season comes again, the budding woods grows more. And so with men, one generation grows, another dies away. So it's about life, it's about nature. So after Dark Age, we have a greatest one of the greatest surviving poet and poetry, Hesiod, and Hesiod's works and days. It's an important source to understand how that society was changing through agriculture, warfare, and all other interaction. So this poem was composed from a standpoint of a Boeotian countryman in the late 8th century BC or beginning of the 7th century. So Hesiod, in his poem Works and Days, depict life of a farmer, his toil, his idea of a world around him, and about labor relations in his society, and those relationship between men and men shape their idea. So let's read what Hesiod's idea of agriculture and household, oikos, right? So I quote him, first of all, get a house and a woman and an ox for the plow, a slave woman, not a wife, to follow the oxen as well, and make everything ready at home so that you may not have to ask for another and he refuses you. And so, because you are in lack, the season pass by and your work come to nothing. Do not put your work off till tomorrow and the day after. For a sluggish worker not fill his barn, nor one who puts his work puts off his work. Industry makes work go well, but a man puts off his work is always at hand grips with ruin. So this is a world of like expanding agriculture. This is a world where they experience nature as a hard reality, that overwhelming presence in a that condition. This was a society where in making it a society transforming from its tribal order to a new era of landlordism, trade, growth of market. So this was a world where you have a new metal, iron. Iron made trade and warfare and agricultural activities more prominent in shaping your everyday life. So there are philosophers, and there were philosophers and historians to understand this changing world. So it is in this world we need to locate our great Ionian philosophers. Ionian philosophers considered natural thing constitute a single world of nature. So we ask when we ask about nature. So if you go and ask a ancient Greek man, what is nature? So he would definitely tell you what constitute a nature, what all elements would constitute a nature. For instance, if you see the Thales of Miletus, he lived between 630 and 540, around that period of time. He considered water as the basic element that constituted the world. So it's you have that overwhelming presence of the Mediterranean there. And you see Anaximander, another Ionian natural philosopher, he would consider nature as a boundless, a principle beyond material. But come to Heraclitus. So for Heraclitus, nature was a constant change that they experienced, the form that we have already elaborated. And for all of them, nature was a contradicting idea as well. There are contradictory ideas of nature is coming from their society, their social order. For instance, if you see archaic or early classical Greek society, polis, so they had equality, and equality's foundation was slavery. Polis was, or city-state was autonomous, but city-state existed by enslaving war captives, by enslaving outsiders, by making women the other. So nature for them was a space of its own, an autonomous sphere. They appreciated gentle beauty of nature, but at the same time, they understood nature as a condition to be dominated, to be tamed. So nature for them was an undergoing process. That was why this was happening. One example, one context can be, if you see the period between 800 to 600, that was a time of severe climatic fluctuation. That was a period of long cooling. And again, if you come to 4th century, it was again a phase of cooling. The opposite of what we experience now, global warming. They had global, or regional cooling. So that challenged their agriculture knowledge, that challenged their everyday life. So therefore, in that context, they understood nature as a condition to be observed, and a condition to be worshipped. For instance, all Greek citizens, people would go to Delphi, their pilgrim site, to ask the oracles before they go for a war, before they go for a settlement. They worship nature there. Then they go and establish their new colonies. New colony means new agricultural settlement. So that's a world. It's a world to be worshipped, a world to be dominated. Let me quote from one of the greatest Greek thinker, Hippocrates. Hippocrates, from fifth to he lived from the middle of the fifth to middle of the 4th century BCE. In his work, On Airs, Waters, and Places, so he writes, whoever wishes to investigate medicine properly should proceed thus. In the first place, to consider the season of the year and what effects each of them produces, for they are not all alike, but differ much from themselves in regard to their changes. Then the winds, and then the hot and the cold, especially such are the common to all countries, and then such as are peculiar to each locality. We must also consider the qualities of the water, for as they differ from one another in taste and weight, so also do they differ much in their qualities. It's about observation. So here you can see an environmental determinism in Hippocrates. But when you come to Sophocles, one of the famous playwright uh, and he of ancient Greece, so he would consider nature as a dangerous force, but simultaneously a condition to be dominated. In his Antigone, published in 442, Sophocles mentioned, many wonders there be, but not more wonders than man. Over the surging sea, with the whitening south wind van, through the foam of the earth, that man makes his perilous way. So this approach that you can see when you come to Plato, Plato's doctrine, that is 4th century doctrine. So Plato would consider nature as an intellectual being, logo, a superior to material being, physis. So this is a new dimension that you can see. So Plato has this idea, the liberation of soul from its inferior. That's a world of city-state where Greeks would consider, Athenians would consider themselves as superior, the dominant of the world, intellectually, politically, and socially. And they considered all other societies around them as societies of barbarians. That directly influenced their thinking. But when we come to Aristotle, Aristotle's image is idea of nature is different. He considered nature as an eternal part of eternal world. So nature constantly in the process of creation and existing from within itself. But there also, he would consider humans as superior. When we come to Stoic Hellenistic philosophy, so they consider nature as in a different way. They would argue live well was to live according to nature, something our society would immediately understand. Then what was nature for ancient Greek society? Their ideas of nature included, for them, nature was mythic, divine, rational, ethical, all at once. That's coming from their lived experience. That's coming from the way they shape their labor and their life. Thank you.